Oh, I'm gonna get that. Hi.
And welcome to another episode of Your Next Favorite Movie. I am your host, Josh G. And before I get to my guest tonight, I just want to take a minute and say thank you to Best Film Ever for helping me have the best month ever in the month of August. So I want to say thank you to all them guys over there, Ian, Liam, Ethan, Georgia, and Ellie. Thank you guys. Appreciate all the promoing. Without further ado, let's get to our guest for the night. She is a freelance horror writer. She This is our all about Jaws special episode that I've talked about on Twitter a couple
Yeah.
times. Please welcome.
This is my one and only Vineyard T-shirt. This is the only one I'll wear. It's like kind of okay, but
Okay, please welcome Azzy to
from
the show.
here, it's like totally not cool to wear a Vineyard T-shirt. God. This one actually, my friends are like, "Oh, that one's really cool. Where'd you get that?" And I found it randomly at some. It's like all the names of the towns squished together, and it makes a little vineyard. It's very cool.
Very cool. So this is Azzy, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So yeah, just talk a little bit about. Well, talk about your writing first. Tell everyone about your writing, where they can find it.
Let's see. Well, mostly I kind of randomly started doing it, just writing reviews. I actually have a science degree, and I was a hematologist for a long time, but I started having some back issues, and I have fibromyalgia, and so that got to be impossible. And when my son, well, I'm from Martha's Vineyard, and I went to college. I did all this stuff, and I was in New Orleans for a long time. Blah blah blah. I was like moving around here and there. I always did radio. I was a DJ, and I think hopefully getting my show back here, but so I was always sort of, and then I started off as an English major, and I always liked writing, but knew there was like no money in it. And so as soon as I got knocked up with the little guy, I said, I gotta go back to school and actually get a degree in something I can do. And but that led to problems, and I couldn't do that. So now he's all grown up, and Mommy gets to do what she wants now, which is like really fun. I haven't been able to do that in 21 years. So so I just randomly started writing reviews and things, and just sort of sending them out to people and seeing what interest was there. And there was some, actually, surprisingly. I mean, and I just what I just still do. Like, I'll just I try to pick like the platforms or whatever that people use on Twitter, like Prime or Netflix or Tubi or Shudder or something, so people can find these movies. But it's such a when the new movies come out, it seems like there's such a rush for everyone to do a review on that. Like, there's a lot of pressure there. So I like to kind of go back and be like, hey, do you remember, this random one, and, do something. So I sent them out, and people were interested. And then the website, the Promote Horror people, interviewed me for one of their Women in Horror Month, like back in February, which was cool. So I had some more people. And then Mar at theboldmom.com, the horror experts. I do a lot for her. She's awesome. She's great. And I don't know, for some reason, she likes the way I write. And so she's like wonderful. She'll let me write like a lot. And sometimes I just don't know. It is hard when you're doing reviewing, to, especially with the new ones too. This is another thing that it's a hard line to like, how much do you say and how much do you not say? So at least if I'm picking older movies, I mean, if you haven't seen Jaws, which came out in 1975, well then, you know, that, spoiler alert, guess what? You know, I mean, the shark like eats people and stuff. So that also gives me a little latitude that I like. And being able to pick the movies that I like and that I know is also, or that I think I know. And sometimes it turns out that I don't know them as well as I thought. And I do tend to do a ridiculous amount of research because I do have a science background, and I love doing the research. And that's part of the thing I like most about it, actually, is trying to find things that maybe other people haven't seen or didn't know, or, you know. And so, yeah, that's where that came from. And of course, you know, I grew up on Martha's Vineyard, so it's, you know, it was, you know, people, I swear people think I'm making stuff up, but it's just, we're so used to having movie stars here and movies being filmed and musicians, and we just, it doesn't, like, it just really, like, it's just part of like growing up, especially back when I grew up, like in the 70s, 80s. It was kind of different, but we don't bother them, and nobody goes up and interrupts their dinner and asks for an autograph like an ass, you know. You're just like, oh, hey Bill, what's up, you know. And so it is sort of a little bit of like a charmed existence here, and you sort of like get to know. So that's why, especially with Jaws, I mean, I was 4, and I remember seeing that mechanical shark coming down my main street, Bruce, and that was amazing. I mean, my dad took me, and I was just, remember that thing, I wasn't scared, I was just absolutely fascinated with it. I thought it was really, a horror lover was born right then and there. And boy, my dad, though, he had to hear about it for like, my God, my mother must have screamed at him for 2 hours straight for bringing me down there to see it. She was like, when she's up with nightmares today, you're the one that's going to wake up with her, not me. But no, I thought it was cool. And all my cousins were in that one, the first one, because they were older. And so then, of course, I got my chance to join in the fun and the revenge. So, you know,
we're going to get there in a little bit. Let's stick with Jaws first, but I promise we're talking about the revenge.
Yeah. It's really worth about 5 minutes worth of talking for it. Maybe not even that. I don't know.
Oh, you think so? Well, I don't know. We'll see.
It's the worst one. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that is sort of how it all came along. So it's all sort of like a newer thing to me. I mean, I've always done writing and stuff like that, but yeah, this whole, and just with Twitter, you know, I mean, it's like, everybody, you can find whatever you want on Twitter, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned seeing Bruce as a little kid going down the main street. So this is obviously kind of a joke, but we got some questions that we want to sprinkle in throughout this. Cool. And this one comes from Nathaniel Barbarian, and he asks, is Bruce as mean in real life as he was in the movie?
When I saw him, it was only like they had 3 different sharks that they used. So it was like, one was like a full size, then there was like the left side, and then there was the right side. And I do believe it was the right side I saw of Bruce coming down. But yeah, he didn't, apparently, I mean, I was only 4, he didn't scare me to death, but yeah, they named him Bruce. I mean, that was Steven Spielberg, because he couldn't stand the damn things, and they kept breaking down and getting waterlogged and everything. So he was like, asshole shark, you know, like, called him Bruce, which was the name of his lawyer. So go figure.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right, so I'm gonna tell you a quick story real quick. Last year, I was doing a different podcast at the time, but I had done a guest spot with my boy Brendan on the Dad's Worldwide podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He had me on since I was the movie guy, and it was a movie quote trivia. And of course, the quote is, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." I'm trying to be nice because I know I'm the movie guy, and I'm like, "You got it, Brendan. I'm gonna let you have this one. It's easy." And he just sits there stunned. I don't know it. I don't know it. I'm like, what? I'm like, it's Jaws. Fine, I'll take it. I told him, I was like, you're getting called out for this. You missed. I can't believe you didn't know you're gonna need a bigger boat as Jaws.
That's like the most famous line of all movie history, I thought.
It is. I think it is. I would put it. Yeah.
There, although people do misquote it a lot, and they say we're gonna need a bigger boat, but
that is true. I agree with that. But
he does say that after it. He does say we're gonna need a bigger boat. He says it again, but the first time he says you're gonna need a bigger boat.
Exactly. And that led me to when I first put out the asking for questions. This was just a comment, and this comes from the Nerd in Texas podcast, and she says, when it comes to boats, size really does matter.
I would say, judging by Quint's dismal end, every time I see that movie, I just want him to not die. I'm like, please let this be the time Quint stays alive and he doesn't die and he doesn't just slide into the shark's mouth at, unceremonious, terrible death. But yeah, he dies every time. And maybe if they had a bigger boat, they could have done it. But, Quint was all heart, man, Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Quint's bitch right here. This is Quint's bitch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Quint's bitch. That's me. He was actually based on, I don't know if you want to get into the movie.
Yeah,
right?
let's go. Let's talk about
He was
Quint.
actually based off of, or Steven Spielberg based him because there was a book. And then in the book, it took place actually off in New York, like Montauk or something. And Benchley had a different guy in his head when he wrote the book, but Spielberg met Mr. Kingsbury, Craig Kingsbury. He was this total character, this fisherman that lived up island, like, where the cliffs are and stuff. And he was definitely a colorful character. And he's in Jaws. He plays a fisherman. He plays Ben Gardner, actually. And he's got like a plaid hat on. You see him a couple times, but he's most famous for like the biggest jump scare probably in the whole movie, which is when Hooper goes down, to check out the boat, and there's a dead body there, and that's Ben Gardner. And you can hear him. It's funny in the movie. I mean, just because I remember him from when I was a kid, and you hear him in the movie, and personally, I don't know where Robert Shaw came up with that accent, because nobody talks like that here, including Mr. Kingsbury, but he would say these very strange, odd things, like just randomly, and just one of, like kind of an older guy, like just random, like, whoa, if he, but like, like, dollars to donuts or whatever, but he would say it wrong, like, I don't know, dollars to apples, or, he would just say it wrong. And I guess Steven Spielberg just would sort of take snatches. He would just sort of listen, eavesdrop, and take some of his little Kingsbury-isms and use those, as fodder for the movie. But you hear him talking a little bit, and even when I watch it now, I'm like, God, I don't even know. I think he just said that, but I'm not sure. And like, it's just funny. So, and I mean, he was a harmless thing, but just total fisherman guy, and there's lots of those around. Yeah.
See that?
Mm-hmm.
Got any other cool stories you want to tell?
Oh my
before I get
God.
into some of these other questions?
You can do questions. Let me put my old lady glasses on there. I can actually kind of see a little bit in here. It's so dark. Um, but I know I started. It was the first major motion picture ever filmed on the water, which Steven Spielberg said he completely regretted after. He was like, oh, he should have done it. He was like, I could have done the whole thing on a sound stage or, but, he didn't think he would get the right feel if he didn't do it on the ocean. So, but it ended up just being, a complete nightmare for everybody involved, apparently. Yeah, like the logistics of the shark. I mean, there was no underwater filming or anything like that back then. So the heck was the name of the guy? Do I have it written down somewhere? But the guy who did the cinematography actually had to come up, make like an underwater camera, but had to jerry rig the whole thing because there was no such thing really, and like a big movie camera, and taped it all up and put crap all over and scraped it together. But of course that would fall apart, and then so that's when like the Bruce thing started happening with them calling him Bruce, and just I guess it was and another thing too is in the book. I don't know if you've actually read the book, and it's been years since I actually read it, but
I have not.
In the book, Hooper and Mrs. Brody have an affair.
Oh.
Yes. And Spielberg was really adamant about taking that out. He didn't want to put it in the movie because he knew they were going to have that big scene on the boat where first of all, he just thought the camaraderie of the three guys would be ruined, like going out on the boat, the three of them, which does, the whole thing is different in the book. But so there wouldn't be that kind of camaraderie. It would be weird, obviously, if Hooper was having an affair with Birdie's wife. But, and then Quint's giving that Indianapolis speech. It just wouldn't have the same brevity, I guess. So he took that out. But they actually, like, the orca is pretty much falling apart, that whole movie, like literally. And it was like in real life, they had to rescue him a couple of times. Like I was saying to you earlier, it's funny how they cut that movie because they're going from so many different places, like when you live somewhere and you see a movie, like any place, like anywhere that you see a movie that's filmed in your hometown or some place really well, and you're like, wait a minute, he just walked out that door and now he's in Menemsha? Like, how is, it's a little, you're like, ah. So, but he did do that, like he cut it all crazy like that. But I mean, luckily most of the time when they were in trouble, they were sort of in the shallower beach water. That was another reason why he wanted to film here and not because they had thought about doing it in New York. But on the Vineyard, you can go way out, and it never gets deeper than 35 feet until you're probably like maybe a mile or so, almost, I think.
Oh, okay.
So that was another thing. Yeah, so literally the boat was actually falling apart, and that's why they had the stunt boat, the Orca 2, which was here literally for 40 years in Menemsha Ponds. They just sort of left it here. And it was fine, like all these years, nobody's ever touched it. It was just like one of those things that we had. Oh yeah, the Orca, that's the Orca. And when they did the 40th anniversary, all these tourists came and just ripped it apart and just took it for trinkets. I mean, literally, there's not a splinter left. I can't believe it. So
okay, let me ask this. I got something. My buddy Tim from the On Second Watch podcast, he asks, what is the strangest thing you've seen the Jaws superfans do when visiting the Vineyard to celebrate their obsession with the film? Since you talked about that, it kind of led into it.
Yeah. You know, it's like there's on a general basis, people don't get like super crazy about it unless there's really kind of something specific going on for it, which I try to avoid at all costs. Like that 40th anniversary thing, I was like, nope, locking the door. I kind of wanted to go to Greg Nicotero came here, and I kind of wanted to see him, but I was like, it's just not worth the trouble. But for that thing, it was stupid. And like I said, I mean, they literally ripped this boat apart. People were wearing these stupid shark foam hat things, and it's insane. And I mean, of course, if it does, whatever town you go to, there's Jaws stuff, t-shirts, hats, everywhere.
Of course.
But that year especially, I'm wondering if the 50th one is going to be even more crazy. I hope not, but it was, I mean, and you do have to wonder if people were, with the straws and it was just, yeah, like, and it kind of, it makes it less cool. I mean, clearly the movies got less cool as they run on. This, that was for the first, the 40th of that. And it was, I mean, there aren't even that many people that are actually still alive from it. The lady that played Lee Fierro, she played the little boy who gets eaten on the raft. Her son, and she was way too old to be playing like an 8-year-old mother's. She was like 46 or something, but she lived next door to my best friend in high school, and she and her girlfriend were like nasty, and she thought she was all that, but she just died last year from COVID. She was 91. I had no idea she was still alive.
Wow.
Crazy. I mean, how did she outlive all these? I don't know. But, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and so, yeah, that just stupid, but people do that with a lot of stuff too, like, with t-shirts and hats, and some people are nice and some people are not. I mean, I can't believe like anyone would go and take the orca apart. Like,
yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's what made me want to ask that.
Gone. Dude, 40 years it sat in Menempsha Pond, and it is gone. There's not a shred of it left.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that leads me to this next question. I don't know maybe you should at least have some spoken history because you weren't around too long before Jaws, but my buddy Brad from the Watchers podcast asked, how different was tourism after the movie came out?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Before the movie came out, let's see. Right now, we probably have a year-round population on a vineyard of about 17,000. And in the summer, it goes up to about 200,000. So that's why we get really cranky and stuff. So if you ever meet anyone else from the vineyard, they'll be wicked cranky like me, especially, first weekend in August. This is like the worst month here.
This is the worst month?
August, yeah. Because it's usually when everything's going on. I don't know why, but they put the fair, the illumination night, and the fireworks all in August. So it's just a bloody nightmare. And I happen to live on one of the busiest, like at the end of really busy street. And it used to be dry towns everywhere. Like this was the only town that had all alcohol. So it used to be worse. But anyway, so back then, I'd say in 1975, I think the year-round population was probably only about 5,000. And then I think it doubled, I would say, at least after that. And because it was so different back then, I mean, it was just, you could still actually buy property here. You could still, rent somewhere to live and raise a child, and it didn't cost $5 million. But yeah, it definitely, it made it huge. And then, then part 2 came out, and they filmed the beginning of that here, and part 3, I don't know where the hell that thing came. That's not even really considered part of it. And then of course 4, so that was another little boom there. But yeah, so it doubled the population. I mean, not year round, but definitely in the summer, people they dig in it.
Okay, and then, well, once again, this leads to another one.
Mm-hmm.
This is my buddy Jeff, and he's going to ask a question about Jaws the Revenge later, but let me give him a shout out now. Jeff Hunt, this is my best buddy in podcast, and he does Jeff Needs Help, Jeff Needs Sports. He started the Off the Ball Sports Network for podcasts.
Oh wow!
But and you kind of answered this by saying August, but he wanted to know, is July 4th really the most important day there? But it doesn't sound like it.
No, it's not really. We don't even. They do have fireworks in Edgartown on July 4th, but they suck. They're terrible. They're not it's not like a huge major show. Edgartown, like you see in Jaws, and also Chappaquiddick. There's another one. There's that the wharf down there, and the Chappie ferry is goes back and forth right next to that wharf. And oh my God, I just got something else in my head. Wait, what were you asking me again? I totally
about July 4th being the most important day.
Yeah, so they do the fireworks down there, but it tends to be there's one way in and one way out of Edgartown right now. That's just the way they set it up several years back, and it's a nightmare. So you won't catch any locals down there really, unless you have screaming, nagging kids. They do a big giant fireworks thing in August. Don't ask me why. I mean, people obviously they do come and they party for July 4th, go to the beach, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, fireworks, you can go down onto the beach, and if you sit on the right beach, you can just look right over to the Cape and watch three towns doing their shows at the same time, which I always thought was more fun. But yeah, it's weird here. Yeah, it's seems to be it's starting to get busier earlier, and then people stay longer. It used to be Labor Day, and boom, this place was shut down, done, over with. And that was another weird thing in the movie anyway about that Jaws. I mean, July 4th too, was they were making such a big deal, that was the beginning of the season, which it never has been. And it's always been Memorial Day weekend, the end of May, into when the kids get out of school, mid-June. And people are here. They're here. They are firmly ensconced by 4th of July. They're already here, and you can't even get a reservation on the boat, if you don't make it way in advance. So, yeah, you would. That was all kind of wrong, but I think they just wanted it to be, I don't know, to have some sort of the be all end all, because it is still, obviously, and it will forever till this place sinks into the water. But it's a huge argument between the locals and tourists, and the tourists are, you need us, and the locals are, we hate the tourists, and so it's back and forth, and it's true both ways really. Yeah, but I mean, the house, but now it's like they've been staying way past till at least Columbus Day in October. A lot of people have been staying longer.
Okay.
Global warming.
All right, so we know Jaws is kind of famous for having a long production, right?
Yes, it was way like 100 days over.
So I was gonna say I have two questions from my buddy Cam from the Spy Hards podcast. First, he wants to say, because of how long the production was, how prominent did the cast and crew feel in the community?
God, I mean, I was only 4.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about.
But the thing that was weird is they changed the signs all over the place to Amity. And like I'm from Eggertown, and that was where a lot of it took place. And so they really changed, like my first Fangoria magazines, you know, my brother and I used to go buy with our allowance was at where he's going to buy the signs and the pens and everything to make the no swimming signs. I'm like, that's where we used to buy our Fangorias.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I don't even think it's there anymore. But so everything, so, you know, when my dad brought me down there, I was like, did we move? Like, I don't understand why everything said Amity, but they did it all over the island. So it wasn't just one spot. It was like everywhere. It said Amity, like on everything from, and like I said, you know, because they're switching back and forth with shots. They're walking out one door, then all of a sudden, you know, they're at the lighthouse in Gay Head, which is, you know, a half an hour, 45-minute drive from where they just were at South Beach, total opposite end. Yeah.
Dan, you might be able to help on this. I'm not sure. He wants to know the perceptions of the production at the time, because I'm sure people were not happy it was taking so long, but versus the end result and the legacy it now has.
Well, of course, people make a ton of money off it. I think at the time, people, I don't think were that irritated, because it was clearly like the first huge movie that, you know, I think we were grateful to have that income coming in here, because we had never had that really before. But of course, we didn't have the amount of people either back then. What really pissed people off was when they did Jaws 2. People, then it was like getting old, I guess. By that point, people got pretty irritated. And I guess from what I've heard, that, you know, a lot of the locals weren't quite as pleasant. We're kind of putting up signs like, you know, like gone fishing, or like, you know, wouldn't open up their storefronts, weren't damn well weren't going to put the Amity sign back up again. That wasn't going to happen. And so I think by then, but, you know, yeah, especially back then, because it's not like we're in Boston and it's like major traffic that has to be shut down or anything like that. You know, I don't think it was that huge of a deal, but I don't know. I was just trying to think of like anything else that, like, as big as that's been filmed here, but I can't really think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to be bigger than Jaws, so that's a pretty big one.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, I mean, like I said, the first one, everyone wanted to be in it. They, you know, it was great, you know. But a fourth one, they were paying us all to be in it. So yeah.
I promise we're getting there. We're getting
no, there. It's really it's all right. But yeah, it went 100 days over schedule, which I guess Universal wasn't too happy about. And it was only supposed to be 55, and it ended up, or maybe it was 159 days it went, or something like that.
Ooh.
That's a long time. You know?
That is a long time. That is a long time.
Yeah.
All right, here's one you may know the answer to. Madison on the air, she asks, whatever happened to Pippet, the dog? She's like, she understands that he was so loyal to his owner that when he was missing, and they were calling for him off screen. They could barely hold him back. So she wants to know about Pippett's happy ending, living his life out on the vineyard. And did he ever have any descendants? Has he had any puppies or anything?
I don't know anything about that dog. It's so funny because people do remember that dog. And I mean, he clearly got eaten by Bruce, but do you know how many black labs are on this island? There is a store called the Black Dog. Okay, so there are about 5 million different black labs and yellow labs on this island. And no, I don't. He looked like a good little man, that dog. He was pretty cool. And that beach is so funny because that's where the girl drowns so they're like going back and forth, from these beaches, but that's where she drowns. All that stupid stuff that's there, like those changing rooms and the shark, none of that crap is really there. Oh my God, I was like, that is so tacky. Like, you always see pictures from 1850 where there were changing rooms on the beach, but no, they don't do stuff like that here. Nope. Bring your towel and your blanket and deal with the sand fleas on your own. Then you got pee, you better go in the water because there's no bathroom. So why would you need a bathroom? You're like in the ocean, for crying out loud. Crazy. It's like the first thing you learn on Martha's Vineyard, boy or girl, how to pee in the woods. Got to be able to do it.
Oh, okay. First rule of living there. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've peed in the woods a lot.
Yeah, I have too. So, girls, of course, they also have to learn how to where to stash that Kleenex. It's very important. What are you wearing? Are you bringing a purse? Yeah, I have that. But so did you have another question?
Oh yeah. Nick Lathan wants to know: were those paint happy bastards eventually caught and hung up by their Buster Browns? Pretty famous line in the movie. Yeah, when they find the paint, he says, "Find those paint happy bastards and hang them by their Buster Browns." He wants to know if they ever got caught.
I don't think they did, and
they got away with it.
It's a good thing too, because they would have got hung up by those Buster Browns, and that sounds like it kind of would have sucked. Yeah, kids, they're just evil menaces. Oh, and speaking of which, this might be a good time for the seaweed story. So my brother that's closest in age to me, Toddy, he's a year and a half younger than me. And so this was probably like maybe they had just filmed part 2, I think. Yeah, I think it was right around there, but it was still, people really were super paranoid to go swimming. Just when it must have been, because I remember that tagline of like, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. And people, I don't know why they would come. Well, Brody in the movie was afraid of the water, but he was afraid of drowning. He had a very specific fear. I don't know. Why would you come to Martha's Vineyard if you're not going to go swimming? And there are no sharks on that beach anyway, the kiddie beach. So we were at the kiddie beach, and my brother, this is so bad. I wish he was here so he could take some of the blame for this, because it really was his fault. But so we were messing around with my dad and sitting on the beach, and we're sitting there and we're kind of like bored, nothing to do. So we had like a seaweed fight on the beach, like right on the shoreline, like not up by all the people, like down by the water, because you had to get that nice wet seaweed to throw at each other. And it was great because it's that kind of bubbly sort of seaweed, and it just feels so gross when it hits you. It's nasty, and it was really fun to do. And he was like a little bit younger than me, so I could still nail him pretty good. But so we were sort of running, up and down the beach, like Sheriff Brody was like, no, here, not to do. And we were doing that and throwing seaweed at each other. And then, I don't know, my brother just got this huge, giant handful of it. And I was like, oh, it's gonna, no, I ran into the water to try to duck down under and get away from it. And he just threw this huge handful out at me, like way overthrew it. And like, it was like, I don't know, this could only happen once in a kabillion times. This lady surfaced, this older lady, right as the seaweed is coming way over my head. And she's facing out at the ocean, so she's not looking at the beach, she's looking at them. And she had the bathing cap and everything. Like, she looked like a Jaws chick, old lady. And she comes up, and it was like slow motion almost, you know, it was like and just nailed her like right in the back, and she screamed so loud. And I thought she was gonna have a heart failure. My brother and I just froze, but we were like, oh my God. And we were like, we wanted to laugh, like, you know, we're both like, oh my God, like, you know, and I'm like, but it's not funny because this lady's super freaked out. And then my dad comes running down. He's like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know, and this lady starts yelling, and it was like, it turned into this big, huge thing. And the lifeguard comes running over, and oh my God, it was crazy. It was but it was really one in a trillion shot that she would have just rose out of
the exact moment.
Perfect. And I was like, I didn't throw it. I didn't do it. And my dad was like, I saw you were throwing it too. This is not a good game for you to be playing. Oh my God, yeah, we get grounded. No Fangoria magazines for the week, I think, after that one. But yeah, I feel bad for the poor lady. We just absolutely. She just yelled out. So I could still hear her in my head, like, how loud it was and how much I really just wanted to laugh, like, because it was hysterical. But it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Terrible. Very bad children we are. Yeah. So it did linger, and it still does to this day, because now what's happening, what I was going to tell you too, is that great whites are actually, because of global warming, are coming back into this area. Actually, at the time when they filmed Jaws, the tiger shark that they caught, which are actually the most common on the beach, the South Beach, where they're partying, and before they cut away to the other beach where she's nakedly swimming. At South Beach, where a lot of people do go swimming, there are tiger sharks, like, off, because they used to do a shark tournament every year here. I don't know if they're doing it anymore, because I think the ASPCA got involved. We were all pretty disgusted. They would just hang them up, like, on all the harbors, and, you know, my kid would be crying, like, it was gross. But that one, at that point, they were so rare that they had to go to Florida and ship that thing up on ice. And I guess by the time it got here, it was pretty rancid. Like, I don't think that scene where Hooper's digging everything out of it is all that fake, because I guess it was pretty rotten. But now, so what had happened was that sharks did used to come into the area. There were a lot of seals that would be in between here and right off the Cape. And they got, just hunted down, and the population was decimated. But now, because they haven't been, they're coming back, and there's a lot of them. Like, if you take the boat from here to the mainland, the real world, where I haven't been in way too long, clearly, you will see seals, like, they sun themselves on the rocks and everything. And so now the great whites are coming back. They come up from Florida, and there's a thing you can actually get on your phone from OSearch, I think it's called OC. It's like O Search, but you spell search with a C instead of an S. But they're the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, which is probably one of the biggest marine biology places in the country or possibly in the world. It's huge. They have a shark tracking thing. You can go online and see where all the great whites are hanging out right now. I checked yesterday. I got to stop looking at it. I'm like, oh my God, they're like right here. But there's not a ton of them, but they're definitely, they know that the seals are back, and that's like their big thing. And but I feel kind of bad for them. And they have like little pictures on their website of Freya, and like, because they tag them and they follow them and stuff. So I adopted a shark yesterday. Well, I'm waiting for it. They have to find one first, and then they tag it for you. And you get to name it. I'm naming mine Quan Su, which the local Indian tribe here, that are Native American, is Wampanoag. And then Wampanoag, that means big fish, long fish. I don't know if it's going to be a boy or a girl yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I get that ultrasound of my shark. But they come from Florida and come up here now. So it's sort of funny. And my niece was absolutely petrified of sharks when she was little. And I remember, like, every year the kids go on the black dog, the people that own the black dog that have like ridiculous amounts of money. They have they have two big giant wooden ships that look like old pirate ships. They are really old. And the kids go for like a week or something, and they just go like offshore and spend the night and learn how to be on a boat and like that or whatever. But apparently there was a great white around for her field trip when they were all in the water. Fun. They didn't make that too public, but they were like, okay, we're not out of the water. So I think it's kind of weird that they're like making a comeback after all that, but they are. And where tiger sharks are more shy, the great whites really will come right in to closer, because that's where the seals are. The seals don't go too far out. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll get some tourists eaten by the end of the summer. Hurry up, and people won't come here next year. COVID won't keep them away. I don't think the great white will. Yeah.
Well, speaking of those tourists, this last question before I'll let you tell any other stories, but no. This comes from my buddy Scott Snow, host of the All the Hats We Wear podcast. And he basically, I think he goes to Martha's Vineyard like every summer for his vacation, because Jaws is his favorite movie. In fact, he's the reason I decided to do this, because I just saw that he had posted that, and I was like, hey, I'm about to talk to someone from Martha's Vineyard. And he was like, hey, can you get me confirmation that was the real meeting room in the film where they have the meeting? And
the town hall?
I guess that's what he's talking about, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That was the real building. Then, now it's not there anymore.
Okay.
But at that time, that was it. You mean where Quint goes down the chalkboard, right?
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yep, that's typical. They definitely aren't any bigger or anything or grander or anything. I mean, what was I was looking at something when I was watching it last, and I was going, God, the hospital. I was like, oh my God, our emergency room is like exactly the same, except for nobody can smoke in it anymore. It's like the only difference. I swear to God, it's the same. Nothing changes.
No. Oh my goodness.
So sad. Yeah, no. So yeah, that was one of the few like indoor scenes actually. Oh, right. On the Chappie Ferry, that's really the Chappie Ferry, by the way, that they're on. So when he takes Dr. Nevin and the mayor, when he's wearing that awesome horrible jacket with the anchors all over it. It's so gross. In '70s with a striped tie, and like that's how people dressed back then, for real. Like it was gross. But yeah, the On Time, and that was the Chappie Ferry, and that was really Dr. Nevin was my doctor. He's like the guy. He was the coroner in the movie as well, with the like 50s glasses as he wore from probably the 50s until he died, like in like 1990 or something. But yeah, he was really the coroner here, and slash pediatrician, which is
interesting combination.
Because everyone I know went to him, like everybody. I don't think there was anyone else. So I don't know, odd sort of thing there, but he looked pretty cool there on the Chappie Ferry. I thought he's all like trying to, but yeah, those big giant black thick, Coke bottle lenses and everything. I'm like, Mom, you can't even see. How can you bring him? Yeah, I'm trying to see if I made any other like exciting cool notes.
Any other fun stories or tidbits we don't know about?
I just have pages of shit. I'm ridiculous when I start writing stuff down. I'm like, and that. Oh, I know. Yeah, pretty much like Spielberg wanted anyone except for Richard Dreyfuss to do that part, and he offered it to like everybody, and everybody said no. Everybody wanted to do Quint, and he just wanted Shaw for that. So actually George Lucas like convinced him to take Dreyfuss, because Dreyfuss had done, I think he had done American Graffiti.
Right, I think so.
And then there was some other stupid movie that he did that he thought was going to be like a big bust. So he was like, oh yeah, let me get into this Jaws thing. And so people will forget about that. And he ended up, that movie, I don't know, I guess he was really good in it. People were like, oh my God, this guy's great. So that was another bonus there. One thing I thought was funny in Jaws 2, all four of them right now, by the way, are on Prime. If you have Prime, all four of them are on for free. But in the second Jaws, they have that scene where the orca, that shark, the orca that they find on the beach with the big giant bite marks in it, which is absolutely insanity, because an orca around here would be really, really incredibly never happen. But the reason why they named Quint's boat the Orca is because the orca is the only predator in the wild that the great white has. So it having killed an orca, I guess maybe it was supposed to show you the scope of how giant and scary Bruce was. I'm not sure.
What it sounds like.
But yeah, and I guess they had a lot of trouble with Bruce. The shark skin getting wet and like then absorbing water and like getting all bloated and puffy and just not, realistic looking. And so I guess Spielberg just was going crazy like daily over it. And so the footage, when Hooper goes down in the cage,
mm-hmm.
Actually, I forget, they were like, I don't know if they were friends of Spielberg. They were friends of somebody. I don't know if they were even producers maybe or something. They might have been a couple of the producers. They went somewhere, but they used to go diving a lot, and they went, and it was like a husband and wife, and they went somewhere, like I want to say, I don't know, Tripoli or somewhere warm, and did some, they got like an underwater, like a marine camera, not a film camera, and filmed some great whites attacking some people that had gone down in a cage. So a lot of that footage of, under there where the Bruce is attacking Hooper in the cage is actually real. So yeah, I think he was just like this. Yeah, can I just have that, because I don't want to have to deal with trying to film this. It's already a nightmare. Just give me the real stuff. It's fine. But so yeah, oh, and because of that stupid movie that Dreyfuss was in, I guess when he was filming Jaws and stuff, I guess he was getting a lot of accolades, like, you know, every show or whatever he was doing, or radio or something, they would mention it and how great, blah, blah. And I guess that really pissed off Robert Shaw, which put things on edge between those two, which is like exactly what Spielberg didn't want by taking, you know, that whole affair thing out of it. But I guess also Richard Shaw decided he was just going to be drunk, like, throughout to be in character. And so I guess he was just a raging drunk the entire film, like the entire filming. Like he definitely stayed in character. Yeah. So he was kind of a pain to deal with, I guess. But let me see what I have this little section. Let's see. Creepy doctor. Yeah. Peter Benchley. What do I have? Let's see. So Peter Benchley has a little spot in the movie as a plays a reporter, like when they're on the beach, and Brody's in the shark tower, and they show this reporter comes up the beach in this, you know, 70s suit, and he's like on the beach. That's Peter Benchley, his little part. But he was not happy with the explosion at the end, because in the book the shark just bleeds out and dies or something. They shoot it and he dies, which come on, it's Spielberg. Like, he's not gonna be happy with like that kind of an ending. So he was not happy with that. So I guess he said to Steven Spielberg, he was like, you know, it's just not a believable ending. Spielberg said, he said, after that movie, what I've been through and what has gone on through this entire movie, he's like, this audience will believe anything that I put at the end. He was just like, he's closed. And they did. They loved it, you know. So, yeah. I thought that was kind of funny. And they're like, they'll believe what I tell them at this point. I don't care. But you could just have the shark, especially for Quint's sake. But I always thought, like, you know, maybe if they hadn't blown him up, they could have cut him open, and maybe Quint could have still been saved.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
Come on. They could have tried. I mean, they looked for that little kid in there on the raft. But, I mean, he really did. He ate him, and then, like, they just got him so quickly after that. I was always afraid, like, little bits of Quint, you know, they were blowing little bits of Quint around.
They probably were.
They were. It's terrible. But, yeah, I don't know. The little kid, Sean Brody, was, that played the youngest kid. That kid was, like, 2 years older than me, and he was, like, that big. He had, like, some kind of, like, Gary Coleman kind of thing wrong with him. He just pretty much stayed that size. He was just a really little guy. Oh. And, yeah, he never grew much more after that. I haven't seen him in a billion years. But yeah, he was an Islander. So, like, there were a lot of Islanders. They did incorporate a lot of Islanders into it, you know, try to make it fun. And, of course, much cheaper for them to use local people than shipping people over here.
That is very true.
And, yeah, so, I don't know. I don't think it was that much more exciting, really.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to get into it then. I want you to talk about what you did in Jaws the Revenge, and then I'm going to ask.
All I did, I was just a choir girl. I mean, they filmed, it was only like the first 20 minutes of that movie is here. And the mean lesbian lady that lived next door, that was the mom of the kid on the raft in the movie. She was in it. She plays one of Mrs. Brody's friends. And so like the first 20 minutes of that movie, I know like everybody, because they came to our high school, you know, they wanted the from our band and the chorus, like my horse I used to ride was in that first scene. That stupid jackass yelling into the megaphone was my grammar school music teacher. Oh, he's such an idiot. He was so overacting it. I was like, dude, just like go smoke some weed or something. You're way over the top. Like, just stop. But so that was kind of funny. And that guy that played Sean Brody, who gets, you know, his arm chewed off in the channel there, he had just started that show Doogie Howser was on. And he wasn't much older than us, so he was just over like flirting with the chicks, the high school chicks, nice, the whole time. And but they really do. They use the soundtrack because I can hear myself on it. I didn't get paid extra for that either, but I was the highest. I was the only first soprano that was there that day, so I can hear myself on it. But yeah, so it's kind of cool. Like in the beginning, it's the you know, lady I used to babysit for, and the horse, and all my friends, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So that was fun. Yeah.
Okay. So my buddy Jeff Hunt, this is kind of how we got connected. Was my old show did an episode on Jaws the Revenge.
I think. Oh no, really? You didn't tell me that.
Well, that's my old show, not this show. That's not this show.
Oh geez, shame me.
So, but well, don't worry, because he wants to know. After you filmed it, and then you ended up seeing how it turned out, were you shocked at how awful it is? Were you just disappointed? Or do you just love it like he does? Because he loves Jaws the Revenge.
Oh no, I was. My friend and I went. First of all, we were like, I was like, oh my god, like, because we had no idea they were gonna like focus right in. I mean, there was like a whole chorus there, and like they picked. I think they lined up the blonde girls clearly, like on purpose, because it was like 3 or 4, you know. But we didn't think they were gonna focus right in on that. So I was like, oh, crowd shot, you know, because actually, you know, I was just thinking, I had done another movie here before, because I'm, you know, I just go way back with this whole acting thing. No, I was in another thing with Christopher Reeve, did a movie here called The Bostonians. So that was another big movie that was done here when I was 13. So that was before Jaws. No, before Jaws 4, but
right.
So yeah, I was like 13, but we were amazed because I was like, wow. And my friend was like, Jesus Christ, you know, like they're really, you know, you're in it like a bunch there. And then the rest of the movie we're like, what is it? Wait, did the shark follow them? No, like this is absolutely atrocious. I can't sit through it. I mean, I think when we went and saw that one time at the movie theater, I think it was like the only time I've sat through the whole movie. Because even if I say, oh, you know, I'm in Jaws 4 or something, and like if somebody wants to see it, I'm just like, okay, but to only watch like the first 20 minutes. Do not even get involved with the craziness that happens in the Caribbean there. You don't want to go there. It's just 2 hours of your life or whatever that you're never going to get back. And don't blame me. But it's funny because people, like I said, other people don't believe it either. Like they're like, oh wow, you know, like I don't think I'd really be able to see you. I thought you were like in a crowd shot or something. And I'm like, no, like I'm right there, you know, which we had no idea. I don't know. I was probably high as a kite at that point. Who knows? I don't know. It was really cold. I just remember it's freezing and we're like right on the water. But we got paid $75. Big money. Big money.
There you go.
So
I'm going to have to go back and watch this opening now, you know.
I'm like the third one in. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I have like blonde hair, and well, we're all yes, literally. There's like 3 blondes, like boop 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 right in a row, and nobody can hear him screaming because we're singing these stupid Christmas songs. And my jackass music teacher is screaming into the megaphone, and it was just, it was And all I can remember is him screaming into I don't even remember like who was directing it, like if anybody else was actually doing anything, because he was so loud and so obnoxious. But that was him. So yeah. That's really, there's no other redeeming value of that movie. Like if I wasn't in it, I wouldn't never have watched it, I don't think. Or I probably would have, and then been even more pissed because they're really reason to sit through it. It's so bad. But the one I don't get is the 3. I mean, that Jaws 3 had nothing to do with any of them. It's kind of like Halloween 2, or no, how was it 2 or 3?
Halloween 3.
3.
That's what you're thinking about. Season of the Witch.
The third one don't make sense. Like they don't consider that one part of the Halloween franchise. Like the third Jaws in 3D with Dennis Quaid, like what, it had nothing to do with any of it. Which, I mean, on its own, it's not that horrible, and I guess it was kind of cool because it was in 3D. But I don't know. That was just random. That was so random. I don't know.
All right, you got any other stories you want to tell?
I don't think so. I think that's probably all people.
No, that's fine. This has been good. This has been fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's only really so much you can do with it. But I mean, the first one, obviously, that's like a classic, and
I think everybody agrees with that.
That's an amazing movie, and you know, like I said, my kid was probably hanging out with him tonight, and and not that you're not a wonderful host, but
I know I'm no Spielberg. I'm not.
Yeah, it would have been fun to go to that. People, see, they still complain. It doesn't matter who it is, nothing. People have to complain on this island about something. So, and he gave him a whole free fireworks show. Yeah.
All right, Azzy, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you online, where they can find your work real quick?
Let's see. I'm MV Glitter Girl, at MV Glitter Girl on Twitter. And I'm on Facebook under Azzy Azimuth, I think. And it's AZI too, yeah, by the way. And actually all my stuff pretty much is on my Twitter page. I think I need to organize it a little bit better. Like I need to organize the rest of my life, but so that will happen eventually. But and I'm usually writing stuff for theboldmom.com, and I'll have one. I gotta get one into her like this week probably, so I'll have another one coming out. I'm not going to tell you what. I never do. I always keep it a big secret. But yeah, so, and yeah, just kind of around, you know.
All right, and as always, you can follow the show at ynfmoviepod on Twitter and Instagram, available wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to come back next week, as it's my birthday week, so I am covering
happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. I am covering my favorite movie, The Silence of the Lambs, but I'm not putting myself under this spotlight, so I'm getting a writer from Forbes.com and a box office expert to come in. Scott Mendelson will join the show. And it's a lot of Silence of the Lambs talk, and it's a lot of box office talk, which I personally love. So if you like numbers, you're going to really enjoy this show.
Cool. Here I am, just a little island girl. That's like special. Darn it. That's great. Well, happy birthday, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Until then, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right.